Hello, guys. My name is Jose Ortiz, and today I'm going to be talking about the Depression and New Era. Let's begin. Growing up in the 1930s. The 1930s was a really hard time because people had to work hard for their money. It was a really hard time, really rough people, and people had to really had to work hard for something even greater in their life. Let's move on, watch. Children growing up in the 1930s. Growing up for them in the 1930s was really rough as well. Parents can barely buy their children own supplies that they needed, clothes, shoes, anything, you name it. A shower was really hard for them. They have to get a bucket of water each time just for them to shower. Now imagine that in the hardest time. Maybe like in the Western times, they can say. Like deep in the Western time, really hard for the children. Really. But with the children, it began with something even harder, which was the Great Depression. The Great Depression, it's one of the most tragic stories ever because it started by a number of serious weakness in the economy, in which stock markets started crashing down due to money making decisions. A lot of people needed jobs, and other businesses like couldn't really provide for their employees, so they had to let a couple of them to go. In fact, a lot of unemployed people lost their jobs and were living on the streets, and life was really hard. But another important thing came along, which is the Social Security Act. It established a system of old age for workers, benefits for victims of industrial accidents for physical handicaps. So basically, it led to something even greater for them. Having your own name, being able to have something good. I think this started like around 1940, I believe, or even I think later. But the Social Security Act was something very important around this time. Moving on, Franklin Roosevelt. This guy is one of the legendaries. He wanted to make a change in people's lives. He wanted to make great to the economy. He he practically ended the Great Depression, I can say. He really changed the ways and helped others as well. And it was really amazing to see, honestly. Now, the hardest things was the rough times. Rough times I'm gonna talk about. People are really hard working people. It was hard during the 19 I can say 30s all the way to 50s, living, having a life, having a great house, kids. It was just really hard for these people to even grow and seek something even better for their lives. And it was really sad to see. The Cold War. The Cold War was a period of geopolitical tensions between the Soviet Union, its states of fighting against other countries. So basically, I nuke you and you nuke me, And then the war starts, a giant collision that people don't like to see. I don't like to see war. War is a terrible thing to go to. But at the end of the day, war, never changes. It really doesn't. Cold War just brings on to, World War II. The vast majority of the world countries wanted power to fight and to end the conflicts. They want to end the battle. That's what World War II. Scrapped up a bunch of all the conflicts, all this decisions, and decided, hey, we're gonna fight you, and you fight me, and this is how it's gonna be. And it's really sad to see, this depression time and around there World War II and all this other stuff. Moving on, the Jazz Age. The Jazz Age was a period in the 1920s and 30s in which jazz music and dance styles changed others, but would always have a message towards people. They always taught them, relax, you're gonna go through this. Jazz music is something that's very important on there. It taught people, relax, you're gonna have a good time. Life is gonna treat you better than who you are. And it's in fact it really does. Honestly, it's the right thing. But on top of that, with jazz music, it also brought on "Brother, Can You Spare Me a Dime." This song was a very important song. It talked about major things. It gave a message about how people were really working hard to get a dime, anyone, a dollar, anything, something to eat, something to give them comfort, something to give them great. This song, brought some amazing to people. It brought joy, it brought things, it brought life. It was also, the song was, directed by Bing Cosby. Oops, sorry about the message. Bing Cosby, which, gave something greater. After that, aftermath of the stock crash, after the Great Depression, after the Great Depression, the Department of Labor predicted that the year 1930 would be a splendid year, meaning they're gonna have great times, change everything as well, which it did in fact, but it was really hard for people to make a change in their lives. In fact, it was the hardest thing to do, and I also really really believe that. But I also caught the public's reaction when people thought it was gonna be a good year, which it wasn't. People called this a homeless times. Oh man, the homeless times was very hard. People were really on. People were really living on the streets. Honestly, they're just the hardest times for them. Again, eating things off the floor, any fruit, any crumbs of food that can help them, which brought people, starving to death. You know, starving to death. People got really anorexic. Food was, very vital to them, and water. But those sources are really hard to gain. Even working was hard. People working on the railroad tracks, making sure life was good and all amazing, which also brought on poor times. Really hard. People picking up dimes or anything, any money they can find on the floor. After the war, or after people losing their jobs, all the stock crashes going down, people were scrapping up pennies, anything they can get, because money is money to them. That's all they ever thought of. But I wish sometimes, people would have changed for something greater for humanity. Which, the changing values. The changing values was, changing something very important. Changing the cost, the stock market, more money. Basically, change value, when explained, is how deeply it wanted to give out a message to people. How deeply it wanted to change the minimum wage and make something greater for other people. Even for the world. Which brought on, Hoover and the civil rights, which this is a very important thing to realize about that, because during those times, they wanted to give out a message again, saving the life, Franklin Roosevelt, MLK, how those greatest people wanted to make a change, as well as these two guys and gentlemen. I can say the change, I can say change ahead. I can tell, like, now, as in life right now, it changed for something greater. It made others think, wow, this is actually a good time to think about, well, people back in history, they had it harder than us in this generation. I could say 2000 generations, back then I don't think the 2000 generation could have handled the 1930s. A lot of people would have been really struggling, a huge depression time, really hard compared to all the things they've been through, war, stock market crashes, racism, everything. But a change was always come ahead. Which our generation now is just has technology, more advancement, more things to bring on the table for other people to enjoy. Like, wow, this really did happen. Wow, like this thing really does. It makes me happy. It makes me thrilled and honored that the people live in the 30s, had it hard, but they wanted to make a change and leave a footprint towards every generation, which make me really happy. What changed my mind and life set. Overall, this is Ozerites, and I thank you guys for watching this video. It really did change. Thank you.